Hello and welcome everyone. We're excited to have you join us today for the LinkedIn webinar, Harnessing the Power of Full Funnel Marketing, where we'll discuss why changes in the buyer's journey have made full funnel marketing a necessity. Our presenters today are Sean Callahan, Senior Manager of Content Marketing at LinkedIn, and Diana Galuza, Demand Generation Marketing at OpenDNS. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. We invite you to join the conversation and share your thoughts on Twitter, where we'll be using the hashtag #FullFunnel. We also invite you to ask the speakers any questions you might have about full funnel marketing using the Q&A box. We'll take time to discuss those questions during the Q&A portion following our speaker presentations. We will also be sending a recording of the webinar along with the slides to you via email following the event. And now, without further ado, I will pass things to you, Sean.
Sandra, appreciate it. Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Sean Callahan. I'm in content marketing over here at LinkedIn, and I'm really looking forward to this webinar. I'm especially looking forward to hearing how Diana uses full funnel marketing at OpenDNS, and I think we're really going to learn a lot from her. But first, I'm going to set the stage and talk a little bit about what exactly we mean by full funnel marketing. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about why it's becoming increasingly imperative for marketers to embrace the practice of full funnel marketing. As you can see, the title of this webinar is Harnessing the Power of Full Funnel Marketing, and there really is a lot of power to harness for marketers. Full funnel marketing is about ensuring that you as a marketer are delivering the right message to your prospects throughout the entire buying process, from the top of the funnel through to the bottom of the funnel. You're reaching them with branding messages in the upper funnel, even when they may not be in the market for your product or solution, and that's especially common in B2B with its long sales cycles that can last 18 months or 2 years or more. And in the lower funnel, it's all about nurturing prospects, people who have actually raised their hand and said they're interested in your product in one way or another, and whether they've remained anonymous or actually shared their email address or contact information. And so in the funnel, it's about reach, nurture, and acquire. And before I wanted to just remind you, if you're going to be tweeting about this, use hashtag #FullFunnel. I think we want to get a pretty good conversation going out there. And I also wanted to say, before I dived a little bit deeper into full funnel marketing, that a lot of the material that I'm going to cover is in this ebook that LinkedIn recently released called The Sophisticated Marketer's Crash Course in Full Funnel Marketing. And in an email that's going to come to you after this this webinar, there'll be a link to the crash course where you can download the ebook. The reason that full funnel marketing has become so imperative, such an imperative, is that there have been some revolutionary changes to the buyer's journey fostered by the internet. And so the facts are these, that Forrester Research recently came out with some figures that showed that the buyer may be as much as 90% through the buying journey, the path to purchase, before even reaching out to a company, before reaching out to a salesperson. It used to be that a prospect had no choice but to reach out to a company fairly early in the buying process. There was really no other way to get information. They'd look through print trade publications, they'd send in for brochures, and in doing so, they obviously gave their contact information and enabled a salesperson to contact them. It doesn't happen that way anymore, as a lot of you are intimately familiar with. Prospects can remain anonymous far into the path to purchase these days. They can visit your website, visit competitors' website, visit product and solution review sites. They search, they consult their peers on social media, and often they do it without you as a marketer being aware that they're in the buying process, and certainly you often don't know their name. But marketing really has the best view of this period of any other part of the company, better than sales, better than finance, better than IT. For this 90% where the buyer is is sort of self-educating. Marketing has the best view of the prospect's behavior. It's the only department that's in position to track the prospect's digital body language or their internet footprints. And this reality has spurred the rise of full funnel marketing. It's marketing's responsibility to stay in front of prospects with the most relevant messages at each stage of the funnel, even before the prospect has expressed interest in your company. If you know they're the right audience, you need to keep in touch with them. And, of course, you also need to keep in touch with them after they've expressed interest. And so the funnel is an old metaphor, but it remains strong, and it has been renewed by the Internet and this idea that prospects are moving through the funnel anonymously. I think Michael Brenner's quote, which you can see on the screen now, is apt. He says, the funnel metaphor is really that there are more people that are always starting the process than there are at the buying stage. There are more people who aren't ready to buy than are ready to buy, and I think marketers need to keep this in mind, especially if they're the kind of marketer that often ignores the upper funnel, which is much more difficult to measure. Also like to talk about another metaphor, to talk about full funnel marketing in regards to the old 3 martini lunch, which is common on Mad Men and in the old days of advertising and marketing. And I really believe that you can compare full funnel to the 3 martini lunch. It's today's version of the 3 martini lunch. In those Mad Men days, Don Draper and his cohorts, they would take clients out to lunch, and there would be talk that's friendly, sort of introductory talk. There's talk about the industry broadly. And finally, you move into specific products and actually trying to sell what you offer. And that was sort of the way it was done in the past, you know, face-to-face, over time, getting to know the client or your potential client. But now that period where you're introducing yourself to your potential customer takes place online. The figurative martini lunch is taking place on the internet. You show that you're an entertaining company with your light blog posts. You show that you're a serious player with your white papers, and you show your industry expertise with those ebooks. And then once you've got the customer further down in the funnel, you use content marketing in the form of case studies or webinar demos to really show that you're the solution that they need. And this role is really in the hands of marketing. And the way I think is easiest to understand the funnel and how it operates these days is this 2-stage funnel, where reach is in the upper funnel, where you're trying to talk to your audience, your target audience. You want to reach them at scale with content, with things like display advertising or broadcast advertising, means of reaching people with a branding message that shows your product in a positive light. You want to build a positive reputation for your brand, even with audiences who are not in the market right now for your products or services. And in the lower funnel, it's about nurture. So the upper funnel and then the lower funnel is about nurturing both known and unknown prospects. It's about talking to people who have shown some sort of interest in your brand, whether by visiting your website or actually sharing their email. And in the past, nurturing is focused on email, and obviously that's still a great way to reach known prospects, the prospects who have shared their email address. But nurturing is no longer limited to known prospects. New technology is enabling us to nurture these anonymous prospects too. For instance, you can use display advertising to reach prospects who have visited your website but have not yet chosen to share their email address. And technology exists where you can really identify who those prospects are, what industry they're from, what their job title is, and reach them with display and other means with very specific messages that are tailored to their identity. And so wanted to return to the upper funnel and talk about some of the tactics that work best in the upper funnel. And some of them are different than the lower funnel, although there are some tactics that work in both arenas. But for the upper funnel, I mentioned display before, content, marketing, blogs, LinkedIn has its own sponsored updates. All of those work well for reach, reaching your target audience at scale with a branding message. And in the lower funnel, the tactics can vary. Search is obviously a strong lower funnel tactic. Email nurturing, as I mentioned before. But content marketing and display that are also very focused to the prospect and how they have identified themselves via their digital footprints, those kind of marketing tactics also work well in the lower funnel. And the metrics are different, I think, in the upper funnel and the lower funnel too. We often use this baseball analogy because you have different goals in the upper funnel and the lower funnel. You have different metrics, and it's the same in baseball. Since we're approaching opening day here, I'll use that baseball metaphor. Since you measure the impact of, say, a leadoff hitter whose job is to get on base much differently than you would measure the output of a cleanup hitter whose job is to knock in runs. So I don't want to go all Nate Silver on you, but the leadoff hitter is measured by, say, on-base percentage and runs scored, while the cleanup hitter is measured more by slugging percentage and RBIs. And it's the same in marketing. In the upper funnel, you want to measure your reach and your branding and how well that's doing. So you would do research on brand recall, any lifts in branded search, lifts in website traffic, especially from your target audience. And in the lower funnel, you'd have some different metrics, leads, cost per lead, number of conversions you're generating, and revenue contribution if you're very sophisticated and can measure that. Attribution is a word, a term that's really growing more and more important, and it's critical in a full funnel marketing to kind of figure out how the upper funnel and the lower funnel fit together, how they influence each other to really drive that ultimate revenue. And the most effective marketers are measuring their impact across the entire funnel. They're not just using last touch attribution where, say, for instance, an email was the last touch, so it gets all the credit for leading to a sale. Algorithmic attribution uses a much more complex approach and a much more accurate approach, I believe, that it works on the understanding that a prospect may have, for instance, read 20 blog posts or seen 10 display ads before that email actually led to the sale. And the best and most effective marketers are using that kind of attribution to analyze how well their full funnel is working. And full funnel has led to the rise of the hybrid marketer. This is a marketer that must do so many different tasks these days. They have to be sort of a right brain kind of person where they're creative, but also a left brain person where they're very analytical and mathematically oriented. A true hybrid marketer is like a Swiss Army knife. They understand branding. They understand website optimization. They understand SEO and A/B testing and how that works. They're experts in email, social, content marketing, technology, coding, analytics. If you can find this all in one person, you're doing fantastic, but most people obviously are hiring teams to develop this sort of hybrid capability in delivering full funnel marketing. Just before I hand it off to Diana here in a few minutes, I wanted to take a quick look at LinkedIn's own approach to full funnel marketing. We're big believers in the idea and this approach, and we try to offer all kind of products and tactics and tools that speak to this hybrid marketer and their goals across the full funnel. As you can see in this diagram here, that things like on-site display and network display are in the upper funnel and are focused on reach. Something like sponsored updates works in both parts of the funnel. It both can help you reach and nurture prospects. Lead Accelerator is a new product that is focused on the lower end of the funnel and is really focused on nurturing, and we have full funnel analytics and reporting across the entire funnel, both for reach and nurturing, upper funnel and lower funnel. And I wanted to speak to, again, before I hand it off to Diana, to one example of a LinkedIn customer that is using a full funnel approach. And Cetera is a financial company. Its customers are financial advisors, and the key part of its marketing strategy is recruiting financial advisors to join the company. And in the upper funnel, Cetera uses display to reach its target audience at scale. And in the lower funnel, it uses a few things. It uses marketing automation to email its prospects, the prospects who have identified themselves and are in the email database. It uses LinkedIn Lead Accelerator, and it uses to use display advertising to nurture the prospects who don't open the emails. There's about, at most companies, there's about 80% of the people in the database who aren't regularly opening emails, and you can nurture those prospects with display advertising using LinkedIn Lead Accelerator. You can also use it to nurture anonymous prospects who have visited the website but haven't yet shared their email address. And Cetera uses it in both ways to reach their email database, the folks who aren't opening email, and also to reach prospects who have come to the website, have raised their hand and expressed interest, but have not yet shared their email address. So the upper, and this has delivered some really strong results for Cetera. People who have been exposed to the nurturing through LinkedIn Lead Accelerator, they've got 13% more page visits per visitor and 27% more page views per visit. And overall, it has led so far to 1 million in directly attributable new business. So wanted to talk about the upper and lower funnel. I've got another quote here. This one's from Matt Hines of Hines Marketing, and it shows the way that in an ideal world, the upper and lower funnel work together. Matt's quote here, as I'm sure you can read, but I'll read it for you. If you invest in that top of pipeline content, if you invest in those early stage relationships, you significantly subsidize the acquisition cost of deals, not only in the medium future, but also well beyond that. And he says there's an annuity to that. You're lowering your acquisition costs. So I'd like to hand this back over to Diana, and I am working to do that right now. And she is going to talk a little bit about how at OpenDNS she uses full funnel marketing to drive results. Diana, are you ready to go?
So I wanted to just share, how do we do full funnel marketing here at OpenDNS? And, really, what does that process look like? So I was going to just share, quickly, what does our demand process look like overall? How do we look at the marketing funnel here? What programs do we align by that stage in the funnel? As well as what do we look at when we're measuring success? So this slide is a little bit of an eyesore, but it's really just to make the point that the demand process can be very complex. There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a whole variety of tactics that you're using to target your buyers as they're moving through their journey. There's a lot of collaboration that's happening with your qualification team and handoff with your sales teams, making sure everything kind of moves from lead through opportunity through to a closed deal in the most efficient way possible. But in terms of the marketing process, what we want to do is really focus in on where we have the most control. And for us, that's about full funnel marketing. So when we look at the funnel, we still sort of look at that traditional top, middle, and bottom, with the top really being about building that awareness, acquiring net new leads, the middle being about nurturing those leads, bringing them through to creating opportunities, and then the bottom really accelerating those opportunities, accelerating that pipeline so that they can become deals more quickly, more efficiently. So, to Sean's point, the marketing team really focuses in on kind of that upper and lower funnel, so that top and middle where you're building that awareness and then nurturing those leads along, because that's really where we can have the biggest impact with the tactics that we're driving. And in order to be more efficient, the way we approach our full funnel marketing is with integrated campaigns. So what we do is we start with a theme or cohesive message that we drive based on an audience segment. And then the programs that we align to that message are also aligned to the funnel stages. So as people come into our brand awareness campaign, they then kind of focus in on that key message that's targeted to them, and they follow that message with different pieces of content, moving them through the programs that are aligned along their journey. Now, in terms of that program alignment, when we're looking at the full funnel, in terms of the upper funnel programs where we're trying to reach our audience, we're breaking it out really in kind of two ways. So one is awareness and one is actually driving net new leads. So certain tactics like display ads, sponsored events, or SEM, search engine marketing, search engine optimization. What we're trying to do here is really just get our name out there, get people to know who we are, know what we offer. We're not necessarily seeing a lot of people convert and fill out forms from these tactics, but we're getting our website traffic growing. We're seeing more of the right audience coming to check out our content. Where we're seeing kind of net new leads really converting is more with tactics like social advertising, doing sponsored events or trade shows. This could also be sponsored online events like webcasts with a media partner, as well as content syndication. So, with that, obviously you're getting a list of people kind of sent your way, so you're building that lead list and actually getting contacts going into your database. Now, some programs that I wanted to specifically highlight that we've seen some great success with is actually one tactic that LinkedIn tends to categorize as more of a nurture tactic is InMails. We decided to kind of break the rules a little bit and use it more as a reach tactic for us. So we decided that with our executive dinner series, we wanted to bring in a new audience outside of our database. We wanted to target executives that were within enterprise-sized organizations and really reach a specific type of individual. And what really worked well for us with this tactic is that we decided to be really careful about the call to action that we chose. So traditionally, a lot of InMails or email in general tends to focus on sharing a white paper or maybe asking for a call. We knew with this audience, an executive type audience in enterprise organizations, tends to really value their peer opinions, and they'll look for recommendations from others in their peer group that they trust, that they want to learn from. So creating that forum, creating a dinner event that they could then have access to those other peers, we knew would be a compelling action for them to take. Also, in terms of the message that we decided to go with is having a very kind of personal, approachable type of message, being really human about it, making sure that the message came from a person and not just a company. If you have a strong brand like Apple or LinkedIn, people will read your message. But if you come from a smaller company like OpenDNS is, people tend to not really recognize it. They prefer to deal with a person and not necessarily, kind of a faceless organization. So, we saw, stellar open rates. I believe the LinkedIn benchmark is around 20%. We saw 51% open rate. Our click-through rate was 21%. So, just comparing it to our regular emails that we send to our database that is warmed up, we usually see also around like a 20% open rate and a click-through rate of, around 5%. So seeing these types of results through InMails has been amazing for us. And we resulted with 31 event signups, which was 3 times the amount that we were hoping to get. So we're really pleased with, with the approach that we were able to take with this. Another highlight that I just wanted to share was we also use sponsored updates, both in reaching new audiences as well as in our multi-channel nurture within the LEAD Accelerator program. And so this is just one example that has worked really well for us in terms of not just getting reach, but also getting engagement. Definitely still having high click-through rates, much higher than we would see in sort of traditional display. What we're seeing is a lot of people converting on our website as a result of this tactic. Just the messaging, the level of engagement that we're getting, is very different to what we typically see just kind of doing a blind sort of purchase through a media company. So we've been really pleased with, just the level of targeting that we have available and the way that we're able to grow our database as a result. Now, when we're looking at our lower funnel programs, again, this is about nurturing our audience. So the big change that we made last year was actually moving to a multi-channel nurturing approach. So as Sean was mentioning earlier, there's a lot of people do email nurture. It's a well-known tactic. You have a certain cadence of messages that you're sending out and kind of moving somebody through a journey. Now, the same can actually be done now with display advertising and social retargeting. So basically, taking the digital behavior of your anonymous website visitors, you can serve up a specific stream of messages. So what we do is we have that split out between both display advertising and then our social ads through Facebook and LinkedIn. And we are able to share a specific message every week that is tailored to that person, moving them along the journey. And then as they convert, we are dropping them into the appropriate email nurture that they're moving into. So, again, with retargeting, it's a key tactic for us. What we see is that, about 90% of the people, 90 to 95% of the people that visit never convert. So being able to set up a nurture to those anonymous visitors has been a huge boost for us. And we've also seen that the conversion rates, those click-through rates that we get on the display ads are much higher than traditional advertising. And with social retargeting, we're seeing upwards of 10 times the click-through rate. So it's been hugely powerful being able to reach people through that additional channel. And I just wanted to share some additional highlights in terms of engagement. So people that are exposed to our retargeting ads, we're seeing that 63% are having more visits per visitor coming to our website, and the actions that they're taking, so filling out a form on our website, are nearly 3 times those that haven't been exposed to these ads. So we're seeing a big uplift in people engaging with our brand, engaging with our website, and actually converting as a result of being able to do these nurtures to anonymous visitors. So kind of further along that path, obviously events are also a big tactic when we're looking at being able to nurture our audience. In terms of webcasts, those are also a huge driver for us. Those tend to be the tactic that drives a lot of net new pipeline that's directly attributable. What we're seeing a lot of times, and this is kind of shifting for us, is that our internal events like road shows and executive dinners that we're doing, we're driving people that are currently in the pipeline. So we're seeing a lot of influenced pipeline that's coming from those tactics, but now more and more as we're driving different types of promotion, like LinkedIn InMails, we're seeing that trend towards having more of net new pipeline being created rather than just influenced pipeline. So a couple of best practices I just wanted to kind of reiterate, as I'm kind of going through some of this content fairly quickly, is that another thing that we're always sure to do when we're having our webcast presentations developed or the presentations that we share at our roadshows or executive dinners is that the content we're sharing is still aligned to that sort of overarching campaign or theme that we set up at the beginning. So as people are moving from, their sort of reach, brand awareness, advertising, or other such campaigns, through to their nurturing campaigns or retargeting campaigns, through emails, through their webcasts and events, we're making sure that we're able to continue that message, continue that story with them so that it's a very cohesive kind of experience and they're well aware of the message and what we're trying to achieve with them. And as well, with any of our events that we're doing in person, especially for roadshows and executive dinners, like I mentioned with the InMails earlier, it's always about having an approachable writing style when we're messaging, making sure that it's in a way that a human can kind of relate to rather than trying to throw sort of marketing jargon or as some people refer to as marketing fluff at people. Usually they can kind of see through that pretty easily. Now, in terms of our actual marketing metrics and how we look at overall success, so we tend to have a pretty complex way of looking at it. We follow the Serious Decisions waterfall, and so this starts with an inquiry coming to our website and filling out a form, or perhaps chatting with someone live or calling in. Those then move into being followed up on by somebody on our qualification team, being passed over to a sales rep, and then moving into a sales qualified lead, which is an opportunity through to revenue. So all of these stages within the waterfall we track within Salesforce. And so everything we have is closed loop reporting. We try to be very precise about the way we measure our programs. And I would say that with upper funnel, we definitely tend to focus, not surprisingly, on those upper metrics in terms of inquiries, automation, qualified leads. So those are leads that have reached a certain score within our system that allows them to then show up in the qualifiers queue to follow up on. And then, sales accepted leads, of course, so making sure that the quality of leads that are being passed over from our team to the sales team are at the appropriate level. And then those lower funnel metrics, of course, are the sales qualified leads or opportunities, as well as the closed revenue that's coming from these programs. And obviously we can slice and dice the data in multiple ways. We look at it by not just lead source, but campaigns, et cetera. But these are sort of the high-level metrics that we're always tracking and working towards improving the conversion rates on. Now, just wanted to wrap up and share kind of 3 key takeaways when we're looking at full funnel marketing. So one is definitely identifying what are those relevant marketing channels on the buyer's journey. So some of the tactics we're using, there might be better tactics that align to your audience more precisely. Maybe it's other types of, social channels, maybe it's other types of, kind of print advertising, et cetera, that doesn't necessarily work well with our audience, but it might work well with yours. And then creating that cohesive campaign across your program. So having that key theme or message that you're driving as people are moving from that awareness stage through to being nurtured, getting more engaged with your brand, understanding what you have to offer and how they can benefit. And then, hopefully towards closing and becoming a customer and joining, in using your solution. And finally, being able to kind of set that benchmark. What are you looking to achieve? Being able to set up testing. So the reason a lot of our programs, continue to do well is we are constantly testing. We never sort of rest once one thing is working. What you'll notice is that with any program, you have to keep things fresh. We're constantly changing up creative, testing new images, testing new copy, testing calls to action, and then using those results to ultimately optimize and continue to drive improved conversion rates across the programs that you're running. So With that, I'd like to thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, you can reach me either by email or Twitter, etc. But with that, I'd like to hand things back over to Cassandra for Q&A.
Diana, I have a question. If you're giving advice to somebody who's coming in to this idea of full funnel marketing a little bit late, what would you suggest they start off with? What are some of the first things you should do?
Testing and tweaking along the way to kind of understand how we could reach the people that we were trying to reach, especially since we were moving towards a different type of audience. So whether that's working with different media partners or exploring different types of social channels, et cetera, kind of understanding what those key tactics can be in your marketing toolbox, so to speak. And then the biggest thing really for us was working with our product marketing team to develop that campaign theme that we would carry through each of those program tactics, from the upper funnel through the lower funnel, so that we always had that kind of cohesive message across all of our campaigns, because that was really what ultimately started to drive better conversion rates for us, is that people became more familiar. It was not sort of this kind of discrepancy between one message to the next, and that also was a big plus for us. So I would say definitely focus on tactics and creating that cohesive message.
And what do you think your company is better at lower funnel versus upper funnel, or is it integrated? And what's your assessment of how B2B companies in general, are they better at one over the other, upper funnel versus lower funnel?
Yeah, I would say we're probably better at lower funnel, and I would say most companies in the B2B space would probably end up kind of venturing more towards lower funnel because it's a little bit easier to measure and control. When you're working on email, you already know who the person is, or you have an idea of who they are. It's just a lot simpler to engage them. When you're trying to bring in a new audience and reach new people, it's a little bit intimidating, to be honest. You don't necessarily know what's going to kind of work, and you have to test a lot of different things. It took us a good amount of time to get to where we are today, and it was absolutely by just working with different media vendors, trying different technologies, just really kind of getting our hands on a lot of different channels, and then kind of trimming it down from there. So I would say upper funnel can be a little bit more intimidating, but you just kind of have to kind of jump in and test what works.
Okay. And what's the main positive change you've seen by adapting this approach? Either for instance, has it changed the way you work with the sales team? Has that improved relations there?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say definitely improving our engagement with sales. I think that once they were able to get a better understanding of what we were reaching our customers with in terms of messaging and kind of that journey that they were taking, it was easier for them to continue that conversation. Usually sales kind of sees marketing as just sort of putting ads out there and sort of this very kind of mysterious area of the business. But when you give them a more kind of defined set of steps that people go through, it's easier for them to kind of digest and understand. The other thing that we did also see was that more and more as we were kind of focusing on this approach, we were seeing that the lift in our website traffic and the appropriate audience continued to build towards the upper market where we were focusing all of our efforts. So we started to see a shift in the audience that was just kind of organically starting to come to our website outside of just the tactics that we were tracking. So a lot of kind of both on our sort of marketing metrics as well as kind of in our relations with the sales team, we saw good good improvements.
All right, and so you had we talk in a two-step funnel, and you were talking about a three-step funnel where there's an upper, middle, lower. Much difference in two-stage versus three-stage, and how does it help you to use one model or the other to sort of understand how you're trying to reach your audience throughout the buying process?
Yeah, I would say that it's easier for us to focus just on sort of the upper middle funnel. A lot of the tactics that we use in the middle funnel can bleed into that bottom funnel where it's more kind of sales enablement and helping them accelerate opportunities that are currently in the pipeline. So some of the events or the executive dinners that we do will bring in people that are currently in the pipeline that we just want to get them a little bit more excited about it so that they can sign off sooner. And a lot of the content that we produce for our nurture we'll often share with sales for their enablement purposes for them to be able to do their own kind of outreach with their prospects in their pipeline. So a lot of things are just more kind of us sharing our current tactics with them and using those towards the bottom funnel, but we don't really focus on that as far as tracking and optimizing conversion rates.
All right, and so how important is integration in full funnel, making sure that your message works across your entire means of reaching prospects and even people who aren't in the market right now?
I would say it's pretty key. Without having an integrated message that's resonating, it's really difficult to get people to understand what you're about and understanding how they can benefit from engaging with you. One of our biggest challenges is we originally started off as a service for providing recursive DNS and then pivoted into a security provider. And so without having these types of campaigns that really drove that security message with our audience, it was really hard to get them to stop thinking about us as just kind of providing DNS and actually being something more than that, and kind of looking beyond what the original brand story was. So, for us, it happened to be extremely, a key piece of our marketing pivot. For some companies, they might be able to get away without having an integrated marketing campaign for longer because their audience might just be a little bit more familiar with what they have to share. But I think everyone eventually will need to move towards this process to at least catch up to the players that are kind of leading the way right now.
Okay, that's fantastic. So I got a couple more questions here that are coming in from the audience. So, Diana, they want to know how many people are employed in your marketing organization, and if you could talk a little bit about the structure. And I'm curious about how your marketing team fits in with sales. I've sort of asked a little bit about that question before, but I'd like to see how your department is organized to interact with sales.
Yep. So we have our demand generation team organized with 3 kind of key marketing programs managers. So I manage enterprise or actually all of direct, but I have someone that reports to me that manages sort of mid-market and SMB. And then we have somebody that manages our MSP partner marketing. And so we each align to our respective sales heads and have weekly meetings with them to go through our marketing metrics, go through the programs that we're running. Before we do our QBRs, we'll go through the plan for the next quarter together. So we're very, very closely aligned with our respective sales managers because of that, because of the way we're organized in that process. But we also have, our actual tactics somewhat broken out with other key players on the team. So we have an online marketing manager that actually owns the execution pieces of our online advertising, our social advertising, our SEO. We have an events manager that manages all of our field events, anything that's in person, whether it's a sponsored trade show or a conference. And so we have a little bit, a little bit of an alleviation in terms of being able to have, people helping us with carrying out the execution of the programs. But each of the program managers also sort of manages our own email nurture streams because we understand our audiences the most closely. And we also, will manage the content for our respective webinars or any types of content that we're creating for our audience. So, in total, there's about 6 marketers right now on our team, but there's 3 of us that are aligned specifically to sales teams.
All right, I've got a question here. I'll answer this one first, and then I'll pass it to you, Diana. There's a question from the audience saying, how key is branding to full funnel marketing? And if you have a weak brand, can you still thrive with this method? And I would say, yes, if you have a weak brand, you still have to work on the top funnel. And the way you can reach people these days using, say, display or sponsored updates, you can reach a reasonably targeted audience at scale and get your message out across at fairly reasonable rates. And I think that this is something that was difficult for marketers to do before. But with using data, like being able to identify people by their industry, their job title, the size of their company, I think that marketers have a huge opportunity now to brand themselves less expensively but do it wider than they ever could before. Dana, what are your thoughts about the ability to brand with some of these new tools out there?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that the tools that are available today make it so much easier for somebody with a relatively unknown brand to get more exposure out there. One of the things that has been super helpful for us is having a clear audience that we know is going to find the most benefit. So we have certain industries, certain kind of sweet spots in terms of size, definitely titles or functions within an organization that are going to find our message the most relevant. So having tools that allow you to target based on both, company firmographics and, individual demographics, within a company, just, kind of gives you the upper hand in a lot of these ways. Whereas with traditional kind of media, it was a lot, you had to basically try to pick the right publication that had most of your audience, whereas with a lot of tools today, you can actually go in and filter down to just the audience that's going to find your message most relevant. So I think that, these tools definitely help anyone that has a brand that they want to build up within the marketplace.
Okay, and one final question, Diana, this one, again, coming from the audience about attribution. And I'm wondering to what level are you able to attribute, influence across the funnel? Are you satisfied with your attribution? Are you trying to improve it? What's your sense of that?
Yeah, we absolutely want to improve it. So where we're at today is just being able to attribute kind of that last touch campaign, as well as any influence campaigns along the way. But again, when we're just looking at at the last touch, that's not the full picture. And then when we look at all the campaigns that influence, it's also not a very accurate perspective, because we don't know how much that really influenced the ultimate buying decision. So what we're trying to get through to in the next few months is to have kind of a better model around multi-channel attribution and using more of that sort of algorithmic approach to have the right kind of point value based on multiple campaigns, rather than kind of looking at just all the campaigns that influenced or just one of the campaigns that was the last touch. So, it's definitely more of a area that we need to work on, but that's kind of where we're at today.
All right. Thanks very much, Diana, for all your time, and thanks to all of you for listening. And we'll be sending out an email with some links that you can listen to this webinar again, and there will also be a link to the ebook about the crash course in full funnel marketing. So thanks again for listening.